going over the Bladerunner Pops from Funko. And if you haven't seen it, from Blade Runner 2049, the sequel to the original Blade Runner, which is based off the book Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And so I haven't read that book actually, but I have seen the original Blade Runner, and I did see this Blade Runner, and it was awesome. If you haven't seen it yet, I definitely recommend it. Watch the first one first though, because it definitely has to, it goes off of that first one and continues that story. Cool thing about it is it was filmed like 30 years after the first one, and it takes place about 30 years after the first one, and so like the characters kind of aged the right way. Like Harrison Ford anyway is the main character from the first one, and he has aged that much, and so it's awesome that he was back in there as Decker again. So I'm going to start opening these while I talk about it, otherwise I'll end up taking forever. But Deckard back on the scene, not at first though, because actually I should have started with Ryan Gosling's character, which is right here, Officer K. He is, and if you see the movie, you find out right away he's a replicant, and he goes in there and he searches out and retires other replicants. He's a Blade Runner, just same as Deckard was in the first one. Though, in where the first one, it was a mystery whether or not Deckard was a replicant or not. This one, it's not a mystery. He's obviously a replicant. He goes and finds Sapper, which is Dave Bautista, and I also got the Chase Sapper, which is really cool. It's just like this helmet that he was wearing out when looks like he's doing some kind of gardening or agriculture, and Ryan Gosling comes in there and starts talking to him, and they end up fighting, and Ryan Gosling, you know, is doing his job, and Dave Bautista, as a replicant, is trying to just survive on his own kind of thing, and the companies that run those replicants do not want that to happen, and so it's kind of a little bit of a rebellion, which is a lot based on what the first one was, and it's really just a meaning of what it means to be human. Just because they're replicants, and you know, they want in the first one, the ones that have gone rogue were looking for their creator to give them a longer lifespan, because they only had a certain set of years. And it's not like humans where it could be up to 100 years. It was more like 6 or 9 or something like that. And they just basically use them as slave labor. And they had escaped that and were looking for more years, which is a pretty human concept, honestly, to be just looking for more life. And so we got Decker, Wallace, Officer K. Let's bust out Joy here, which is Officer K's, I believe this one's Officer K's kind of program girlfriend. It's an application, or it's a program that they run, they sell, and it could be, you know, this girlfriend that, you know, becomes your wife or something like that, and, you know, just basically goes off of wherever there's cameras and projectors around in your house, and you plug that into your house, and she projects herself and is a hologram, but you know, holograms over your food, and like he gets out, like he has a basic plate of food, but when she sets it down, the hologram over it makes it look like it's some great meal, which shouldn't really matter as much to him, I guess. I don't know how much of a replicant, you know, really wants to have like great food. I don't know how advanced they are, but he's almost human in every way. And then every replicant, you know, he wants to find out this truth about whether or not these replicants have seen a miracle of birth a person before, kind of thing. And when he experiences some memories, he wants to know if they're his memories or not, you know, if he was actually born or not. Because if he was born and not just a normal replicant, he'd be special. And everybody wants to be special. So that's part of it, and part of the understanding of their mindset and where they're coming from and what they're looking for in the long run from life and how they try to get it. This is Love, which works for Wallace, and she is a freaking hard ass in the movie. We're just one of the people trying to make sure that Wallace's will be done, kind of thing. He's making the new replicants and retiring those old ones, and she's one of the ones, like, pretty much the underboss that's making that happen. Cool fight scenes with her, which were surprising as well. And then we get to Wallace, crazy-eyed Wallace, played by Jared Leto. And he's the one making new replicants. He's not going to want to stand. Yeah. Oh well. But very cool. I remember when the preview came out, they had like little things in there that were kind of misleading that like got me super pumped up for it. Like when you see Ryan Gosling meet Harrison Ford for the first time, you know, in the preview anyway, he says, you know, what are you doing here? And he says, I want to ask you a few questions, which like instantly triggered me to the first movie, where that's how they used to tell if someone was a replicant. They would ask them a series of questions and see what emotions it provoked out of them. And in the first one, if you watched it, the first guy taking the test ends up killing like the guy who's giving him the test. You know, that's the emotion that it provoked out of him, and he ran and, you know, ended up getting retired by a Bladerunner or something like that. But it was like, you know, oh man, you know, the whole old question of whether or not Deckard is a replicant or not. And Ryan Gosling had found him, and I was like, he wants to give him the test. But that wasn't really the case when you actually watch the movie. He does say that line and everything, but it doesn't mean that same thing. You know, he's not trying to give him the replicant test or anything like that. He's just trying to figure out information. And yeah, it's really cool. It's a great follow-up to the first one, and it still poses those same questions of what it means to be human, and, you know, whether it was really right to create these beings for slave labor, and, you know, if it's right to kill them because you created them, kind of thing. And is it so wrong for what they're looking for, which is more life and depth to their life. They want their memories to be real, and they want to actually have had a real childhood and have a real life, instead of knowing that they're just a machine that was created for one purpose. And, you know, that when they die, that, you know, people will send people to kill them just to retire them, and you know, their life is basically worthless, is for trade, slave labor kind of thing. So great movie. If you haven't seen it, Blade Runner 2049 came out earlier this year. Check it out. Here's the pops for it. I'm going to leave the Sapper Chase in the box, but here's the rest of them. Check them out, and I'll see you next time.